January 21, 2025 school committee meeting here at the PDC Center at Tyngsborough High School. My name is Anthony Tenorella. I officially call this meeting to order. I will remind everyone that these meetings are audio and video recorded. And we will start with introductions to my left.
Evan Cody.
Kurt Bushman.
Becky Stanton.
Mike Woodlock, Assistant Superintendent.
Hi, Mike Flanagan, Superintendent.
Danielle Athanas.
Ryan McMahon.
Stacy Guido.
Rob Mullen.
Joe Messina, Business Administrator.
Thank you, everyone. Can you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the January 7th, 2025 school committee minutes, the January 8th, 2025 budget subcommittee meeting minutes, and the January 14th, 2025 budget subcommittee minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Citizens' time. Seeing none. We have no correspondence or personnel this evening to discuss. So we will go to share the success. Evan.
Awesome. This week, TES will host their annual Parent and Guardian Conferences, and on Monday, January 27th, TES will kick off the 14th Annual Great Kindness Challenge. Students will be provided with a kindness checklist and are challenged to complete as many acts of kindness as possible throughout the week. To amplify the impact, TES will host a kindness assembly, decorate the school with positive messages, set up kindness stations during recess, and invite community members to cheer students on. The Great Kindness Challenge began in 2012 and has since grown into a global kindness movement, now engaging over 21 million students across all 50 states and 115 countries. This positive, proactive, and powerful week will mobilize students worldwide to create respectful communities. At TMS, both the Chess Club and the Dungeons & Dragons Club started this week. The ski club braved the cold, and progress reports will be sent to families at the end of the week. At THS, congratulations to members of DECA that qualified for the state competition. They will attend the state conference and compete at the end of February in Boston. Last week, a number of alumni met with students during WIN to discuss their experience as college athletes. They discussed the recruiting and college admissions process, as well as balancing schoolwork with being a college athlete. Into the Woods tickets are now on sale. Shows are taking place Thursday, January 30th through Sunday, February 2nd. Trimester 2 progress reports will be available this Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Subcommittees, we have 0 this evening. Unfinished business, MSBA update, Dr. Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll jump right into the slide deck. Just a reminder about our upcoming meetings in February. I don't need to read those to you. Go to the next slide. MSBA update, our OAC meeting last week. We discussed several timelines and events that are kind of in the pipeline right now. FF&E, which is furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the delivery date on that will be late May through early June. Last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, we had all the gym equipment delivered, and as you can see, one of the bullets up there is gym equipment install begins today. The plan is to finalize most of the gym equipment, and then the gym will become the staging area for the remainder of the FF&E, which will then be dispersed through the school after a final clean in June, hopefully. So that's where that's trending right there. One of the things we discussed last week was the mill and pave schedule for summer work. As we talked about, and I know I made this committee aware, one of the things that was discussed was that the entire campus will be milled and paved so that it looks like a brand new roadway system throughout. If we didn't do it as part of this project, it would be incumbent for the town to do it at some point. Given the fact that they're going to be on site anyways, it makes sense to do it now. As we think about that, that really is going to impact some of the available parking, and it's really going to have to be coordinated pretty well so that we can still have access to both schools over the summer. So JCJ, Fontaine, and Leftfield are working on that right now. When we get a final mill and pave schedule and what that will look like, we're going to have to shut down the exit to the school, just use the entrance and those types of things. We'll communicate that accordingly, but that will have a significant impact on our summer traffic pattern here at Norris Road. One of the things we also discussed was potentially doing a community tour, and I think everyone thought it'd be best that we kind of hold off and wait till actual ribbon cutting to kind of show the final product. But in lieu of that, what JCJ and Left Field and Fontaine are doing for us is they're going to put together a progress slideshow, and they'll have something for us by the end of February that we can push out through social media and through the email chain for the community, so they can kind of get a sneak peek into the school. Just another way to kind of see the progress that's being made. And we really want people to have that aha moment when they walk in, when the ribbon cutting happens. All epoxy flooring's done, is complete in building A and C. Talked about the gym equipment being finally installed, and we actually switched over last week to permanent lighting, permanent power in buildings A and C, which is actually another project milestone. So that was exciting. The other thing we talked about, and I know this came up on the school building committee meeting, is the actual move schedule. And this is a draft move schedule. This will be shared with the TMS staff at their upcoming February staff meeting. Essentially, what we're going to do, the plan is the day the middle school ends, the day classes end on this campus, that building's gone, and we're turning it over to JCJ Fontaine and really Fontaine for asbestos abatement and demolition. So anything that we don't take with us will be demoed and removed from the campus. That being said, part of our February meeting with the middle school staff is we will talk about having significant cleanouts right before February vacation, right before April vacation, and again, right before the last day of school. So 3 opportunities to really take anything out that you want or that we can salvage from that school. We're also coordinating with both Ryan and Derek Piper to make sure that we take out the appropriate technology, anything that's salvageable that can be reused throughout the district. So it's going to be a tight time frame. The reason it has to be so tight is so that abatement can begin and demo can begin on the existing middle school, so that we can get the parking lot done and the softball field installed so we can play on it in the spring. That's the ultimate goal, because they would like to have that softball field done by November so it can be seeded. Sodded before, and the sod can take. So that's the plan right now. As you look out at August, we're looking at the week of the 18th there, where the teachers will have access to come in and set up their classrooms. Also, at the February meeting, we'll talk about what that move will look like. There'll be bins. We have a company coming through to really doing a final assessment of how many bins per classroom, per subject area, and the teachers will pack up, and then they'll unpack the week of the 18th. Somewhere in there, we're having conversations about when central office will also move over. We're actually going to start over there the week before the teachers get back in, so that we can practice turning the lights on and making the systems run and those types of things. So we should have 2 weeks of that building being operational before students set foot in it. So the other good thing that we know is we've already assigned a classroom that will be dedicated to JCJ Left Field and Fontaine, that they will remain on site for probably 6 months while the school's open, to make sure the system's up, the school's up. I mean, they're going to be here for the demo and the install of the parking lot and everything, so they'll be on site to make sure that they have a presence so that everything runs smoothly. So that's the move schedule right now. We are looking at a last day of school, packing up, moving things over, and then demo that school. So exciting times. And that's the MSBA update.
Yes.
I do have a question, please. Members of our Maintenance and Facilities Department are getting their training for new systems.
Yes, so Ryan Pike comes to our weekly meetings, and he's had several of his own meetings with Jay, help me with his last name. Jay as a representative from Left Field, MEP expert. So we are being trained on all the systems. They are being trained. What is it?
Jay Faxon.
Jay Faxon, thank you. They are being trained on all the systems right now. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you.
Just a couple pictures. You can see the toilet fixtures are in place. Classrooms are done, except above ceiling inspections are being finalized, so those grid panels we put in. It's really coming together. Next slide. Typical science classroom on the right. You can see the lockers are installed in the hallways. It's getting there, and I'm excited for that slideshow, so we can push that out to the community, because I know that people want to get in there, but the more we stay out of their way, the better off we're going to be come summertime. So that's the MSBA update, Mr. Chair.
Excellent, thank you. And there is an end in sight.
There is.
Very
Awesome.
exciting.
Teaching and learning, Mr. Woodlock.
Thank you. So I'll be fairly brief today just to provide you with some information. Should you, contact someone out in the community who's asking about what a competency determination is, because it's a phrase that's being thrown around quite a bit right now. Certainly in my assistant superintendent email chain, everyone's talking about it. Now that MCAS has been voted out as a graduation requirement, the state has given us some criteria that we have to have a competency determination, not equivalent to MCAS, but something has to be in place. And I won't read all this to you, but essentially we need local requirements. What do we do in Tyngsborough to ensure that our 10th graders are on track? To put it in, just kind of summarize it. So what competency determinations are not our high school graduation requirements? Our high school graduation requirements will remain the same. All right, so we don't have to change that, but they do focus on academic standards for 10th graders and in the same subject areas as MCAS. So that's ELA, math, and science. Successfully completing that coursework indicates competency determination for the state. So we've consulted, I know Mr. Ogden has consulted with his Midwatch principals group, what they're all thinking about, what they're all doing. I've had contacts with all of my assistant superintendents groups. I'm actually meeting with them on Friday to finalize, or just to talk about those types of things. But for the most part, the vast majority of schools in Massachusetts that we've had contact with are really just focusing on those grade 10 English, math, and science courses. Some have specifics, some are a little bit more general. And this is subject to change because the state could come out next month and say, we actually want everyone to do this. So we're just kind of giving you a heads up. This is kind of where we're heading, barring any unforeseen circumstances. But we expect that all students will successfully complete grade 9 and 10 ELA, successfully complete Algebra 1 and Geometry, and successfully complete one of our science courses, either bio, chemistry, physics, or technology and engineering. This isn't like anything mind-blowing because if a student's going to graduate from here, they're going to have done these things anyway. But our goal is really to, MCAS can be a warning sign or a kind of a safety net for like, these students are really struggling, where are they at? We fully plan on continuing to do that. We do that in every other grade. So if we have students that are struggling, that's one of the reasons why we established a win block, so that we can get students remediation, extra help, whatever they may need during a school day, to make sure that they're successfully completing these things. So as we hear more information, we'll certainly pass it along, but I just wanted to let you know that we're on this, and we're going to be fine one way or the other. Any questions? All right, thank you.
No, thank you. New business, fiscal year 26 expense overview. Mr. Messina.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Budget Subcommittee did meet both on January 8th and January 14th to develop the expense model that you see in front of you tonight. I will always say that this is just a model as developed at this moment in time, and very rarely does it look exactly the same when the schools open in August, but it's a model that gets us, hopefully in the end of our exercise, to a balanced budget to present to the town. So just going over the first meeting on January 8th, took into account our four big expenses, salaries, tuitions, transportation, and utilities. So for salary, currently we have 233.7 positions filled. We also have 3 paraprofessional positions at the elementary school that we could not fill with full-time staff. So we have long-term subs in those positions. And we also had a late resignation with our school psychologist. So that gets us to an FTE that's budgeted in this model of the 237.7 staff people, which is 2.6 lighter than what we finished with in last year's budget model. That salary for those 237 positions is roughly 20.3 million, a growth of 580,000 from last year's budget. For out-of-district tuitions, we took the current review of the roster. Sarah Lewinzik and myself looked at the current roster, and there are 25 students that comprise this 2.9 million budget number at this time, up about 322,000 from last year's budget. For transportation, these are simply the same fleet that we currently have for regular ed buses and for vans. The increase you see there is the contractual increase that's going into place next year, 4% roughly for both regular ed buses and for vans. And utilities, that number is the current rates for supply going forward into next year, which is roughly about an 8% increase from last year's budget figure. So again, on the 14th, we met and we discussed the smaller expenses that comprise your budget. And you can see most of the budget center, the schools and special education, maintenance, athletics, technology, and district-wide are all coming in at this moment, same level fund as last year. For the expenses that are unrelated to budget centers, again, Mr. Woodlock's teaching and learning cycle remains the same. Our enhanced summer programming, capital projects, funding that we take from the lease, and a slight increase in our accreditation costs as we ramp up to year 2 of the process. Pensions are the pensions related to the grant funding. You'll see when we review revenues that you'll see the grant funding is lower, so both the pensions and the non-distributed grant funding are lower this year. And the chargebacks are pension chargebacks that the town makes for benefits to the preschool tuition program. So all of those expenses sum up to $27,778,015, which is roughly a 3.9% increase from last year. So on the January 28th, we are going to meet again and look at revenues. And we're also going to do a deeper dive with the expense side of the budget just to tighten the numbers up where we can and present to you a balanced budget when we finalize through it.
So if I can piggyback on that and we go to 9B, as we talk about the expense side of the budget, it's a balance. It's a balance between our wants and our needs. And I know that 2 weeks ago when we were in this room, we talked about, we just had our admin team meeting to talk about some of the needs in the district. And I think one of the things that we say every year and we pride ourselves on is we don't just pick things up and put them down. We really look at addressing needs in our strategy for district improvement to make sure that we are aligned to that. That being said, when we met with our district administrators, our principals, and our department heads, these were some of the requests that came up. These weren't all the requests that came up, but these were some that made the list to be considered further as we move forward in this process. So one of the needs is an additional BCBA teacher at Tyngsborough Elementary School. I would say that this is probably our number one prioritized need moving forward. That is not a position that's currently in the budget, so we'd have to figure out how we achieve that position by reducing somewhere else. School psychologist, you heard Mr. Messina refer to that earlier. That is a position that we had a late resignation last year. It is in our budget. We were unable to fill it. We will actively pursue a school psychologist again for this campus for next year. As you think about a new middle school, we currently are living in an 80,000 square foot area or 80,000 square foot footprint. We're going to 112,000 square feet. So we have a need for at least an additional custodian there. Ryan Pike is also advocating for an additional maintenance person because right now we share one person between the middle school and high school as is. So it does warrant potentially its own full-time maintenance person. That being said, we do have maintenance people elsewhere in the district. We might have to think about how we strategically do that. Library support. Library support has come up. We know that Mrs. Kavanaugh presented to the committee at the end of the year last year about doing library a little bit differently this year. And then our person who's responsible for that also was another late resignation, took a position somewhere else. So we were kind of behind the eight ball there a little bit. We are identifying the fact that we need some additional library support at the elementary school right now. We need to really have that kind of be its own modified, standalone schedule. What exactly that looks like right now, I don't know. But Mrs. Kavanaugh is advocating that we prioritize some kind of library support position at TES moving forward. Additionally, the amount of testing and evaluations at the elementary school has gone up significantly, so we're looking to increase, whether it's through contracted services or somehow appoint two school psychologists at TES. Again, these are the positions that made the list for us to have discussions about. I don't anticipate us coming back saying we need all of these positions. We will look at prioritizing these 1 through 7 or 1 through 8, whatever the number is, and kind of saying this is what we can afford and this is how we're going to do it. So those conversations are happening internally right now. The additional line item requests, there was, and I didn't make this list, that's my fault. There was additional request to increase some technology funding. One of the line items is we start thinking about hardware replacement moving forward, but that's a conversation we need to have a little bit more. And we saw the accreditation already is in this budget that Joe just presented. So we are up for our accreditation vision next year. So these are conversations that are happening internally right now as we think about things. But again, it becomes a balance of wants and needs, and what can we do to really maximize every dollar in the district.
Yes.
Dr. Flanagan,
Yes.
thank you for this, and thanks for your staff for, really scrubbing the needs of the district. I'm really happy to see the library support there.
Yeah.
I've heard from a lot of TES parents that have had some concerns about library,
Yep.
and I'm happy to hear that their voice is being heard. But also that, Mrs. Kavanaugh and you and your staff are ahead of this already, knowing that it's something that needs to be addressed.
It is. The best laid plans sometimes go up in smoke, and that's what happened to us last year. And we're going to address it now. We're going to fix it. And just to put out there, library in the elementary school looks very different now than it did when some of us went to school. Each classroom has their own classroom library, so kids have access to books. I don't want parents to think kids aren't having access to books. They do. It's a matter of actually going through the process and the function of visiting the library and understanding the layout and what's offered and available for kids. So we think that's important. We're going to bring it back in some capacity.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Just if I could direct one to Mr. Messina. Just curious, on the transportation utilities, what year are we in for those contracts?
So for utilities, where right now I'm working with Power Options to lock in the best funding for next heating season. So our contracts right now are in effect for both electricity and natural gas until October of '25. So this heating season is the last one on the current natural gas, which was only a 1 year. Just due to the volatility of the pricing. So generally with Power Options, I'm reaching out to them probably every 3 to 4 weeks. Just, can you get me some new pricing? They usually will give me a 3-year model and say, what's best. We're nowhere close to what we have in the budget. They're running, I think electricity is running about 18% higher, and natural gas is running about 29, I think it was, higher. For the bus contract, we're actually going to be the year 4, which is our first 1-year extension. That's next year, so FY '27 would be the last year of that contract. So we'd be going out to bid for FY '28.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, everyone. And we're going to stay with Mr. Messina. for
Okay.
finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, signing of bills. We had 12 bill warrants presented to the committee tonight. I do have them all back approved. And as always, in your drive is a list of warrant numbers, accounts, and amounts. No signing of payroll tonight. We'll do that at your next meeting. And also tonight is the financial package for December. Again, that is your school committee budget, the revolving account balances at the end of December, as well as the student account balances at the end of December. And I will leave the January 1 headcount to the chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Messina. Enrollment, Tyngsborough Elementary School, 721. The middle school, 394. The high school, 408. Out of district, 24, for a total of 1,550 students. And that is it. We have nothing for other. School committee discussion. Evan?
None, thank you.
I'm all set.
Mr. Messina, thanks for all your work on the budget. I know that there's a lot that goes in behind it. So thanks for your current work and your future work on it.
I'm good, thank you.
Mr.
I'm all
Messina?
set. Thank you.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
I just wanted to also thank Mr. Messina and Dan Hogan for your work on the budget, for organizing the figures for us in such a way that makes them very, easy for us to understand, and you're also always available to answer all our questions. And I also wanted to just remind everybody in the community, like Evan said, the Tyngsborough Theater program is going to be having the play Into the Woods, and tickets have been on sale. So if you want to get your tickets, you should hop online on the school website so that you can purchase the tickets. I already have mine. I hope to see everybody there. That's all.
I'm all set, thank you.
I would also like to echo Becky and Stacy's thank yous to Mr. Messina and Mr. Hogan for all the work that goes into the budget. Every year that I've sat down to go over that on the budget subcommittee, I'm always wowed at everything. So just thank you again for all of that. That's all I've got.
Dr. Flanagan?
I'm lost. I was gonna talk about Into the Woods. I'm going Thursday night,
Sorry.
so I have nothing.
And I have nothing. So, we do have a need for executive session this evening to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than professional competency of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. We will return from executive session only to adjourn the regular session meeting, and I am seeking a motion to go into executive session.
I will make that motion.
Second.
This does require a roll call vote.
In favor?
In favor?
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
All right, thank you all, and have a good night. Stay warm.